Joseph Campbell came up with this idea of the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And in the hero's journey, there's this idea that everyone, and he looked at literature, and he looked at kind of the narrative of literature, and to see the character arc really that people were going on, and the journey that they were on in their own individual work. And what was really incredible with that, he wrote a book called The Hero of a Thousand Faces, just to say that we're all in this same trope, right? And like all in the same, like humanity is in this ubiquitous journey where we're all like, we all born and we all die. And really like this journey of relationship and struggle and shame and everything in between those two bookended events is the same for us. And, he saw it in literature, but that was really this reflection of what was happening in humanity. And it really helped people to understand and to see themselves in the stories that they're reading, right? I mean, that's why we can associate with almost every character in a book that we read or a movie that we watch. And then Ted, obviously, like you said, tweaked it to his own language, which, Ted tweaks. That should be like maybe a whole other podcast, right? Like Ted tweaks, where he takes something that was already phenomenal, and like makes it better.
Yeah, that's cool,
right? Like, and so it's structured based off of Joseph Campbell's work with the hero's journey and the hero of a thousand faces.
Yeah, and it's one of the, I think, intriguing and fun elements for a lot of us in the Compassionate Warriors that Ted does reference a lot of the big movie franchises that are out there, and you start to piece together like, oh wow, this is what happens. This arc happens in Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings and Superman and so many of the Marvel Avengers comic and superheroes. It's like this is a pattern that we kind of live through, and then seeing through a biblical lens that there's some truth to that for us as well, that we're learning to live in a different way, and in a sense, becoming the hero of our own story, because we're becoming someone that we can be proud of. We've talked a lot on this podcast about, Jesus said to love your neighbor as yourself, and our ability to deeply engage in love of another person is very, very difficult if we don't know how to love and accept ourselves, how God has made us. And every one of us is made unique and has different skills and gifts and character traits, but every one of us in a sense is like, I think, designed by God to reflect his image and to be the hero of our own story. And that, I don't want to get caught up in like performance or winning, or it's not about success, but it's just about being comfortable in our own skin to be the main character in our own story. Like I need to live into the story God's brought me into. And that may mean going through this journey of accepting some things, of realizing limitations, but also risking and jumping into unknown things, because I believe in the one who's calling me and leading me into something bigger than myself. And you start to realize like there's something kind of hardwired into our thinking that this journey, I think, represents. And then, of course, in Ted fashion, it's all coming back to Scripture and what is God doing in our lives. And so I think it's kind of a helpful framework that throughout the process, you can look back to the graphic we created and say, oh, okay, here's kind of where we are in this journey. And the differences Bob was kind of mentioning, like pillars are, we call it pillars on purpose because we don't want for people to see them as steps. Like you got to do step one, step two. Like these are all foundational elements. And in this regard, the journey is a little bit more progressive. Like here's some phases that we can start to look for in our journey and identify maybe where's the one we're most at right now, but also have a picture of where we headed in the next phases of our journey.
There's been research done too that the art of storytelling is the primary way that the human brain takes input information. So if you are to give someone a lecture or have them read, a manual or something like that, they can, digest that information, but they burn a lot of calories. Where you burn fewer calories and understand things at a deeper level when hearing things through story. And if people want to argue the research, I think you just need to go back and see, well, what did Jesus use to communicate? And it was story. And so I think that even on just like a human biological level, we are made with this framework built in that we are on this journey in this story. And so I think that that's what makes it most helpful, is because you get to drop yourself in the story and get to kind of craft that too. It's cool.